In the future, when VR technology has advanced, we will experience many VR MMO games. To make these games feel more realistic and to blur the lines between the game and reality, developers have created gaming devices that allow us to feel physical sensations. Players can not only feel objects, but also experience pain and even death. So, what do you do if you want to play but don't want to endure the pain? Let's follow a girl who fears pain but still cooks the game as a tanker. No pain, still gain. One evening, Risa sent Keed a game, boasting, "This game is really good. You should play it first. I'll join after I finish studying for my exam." It was almost like she was tricking her friend into playing the game to make her dumber while she studied and scored better. Trusting her friend, Keed put on the game gear and started experiencing this virtual reality world called New World Online. My mistake, not that one, this one. She named her character Maple and chose a shield as her weapon for defense. As she entered the game, Keed was bewildered by her surroundings. Because she maxed out her defense stats and set her agility to 0, Maple moved slowly. She asked another girl for directions and was guided into the forest to start fighting monsters and leveling up. As soon as Maple entered the forest, she encountered a rabbit. The aggressive rabbit kept charging at her, but she didn't feel any pain. She let it ram into her for a whole hour and ended up gaining a skill that doubled her defense stats. However, all her other stats were reduced to just 1/3 of their original value. Just as she was checking her new stats, she raised her shield and the rabbit suddenly charged into it, dying on impact. Wow, dying from just ramming into a shield? This feels like hacking the game. After reaching level 2, Maple continued exploring the forest. However, she was soon attacked by a bee. She tried to run away as fast as she could, but since she had no agility points, the bee quickly caught up to her and hit her on the head. It doesn't hurt, Maple realized, so she stood there, letting the bee continuously attack her. However, the bee started spitting venom on her, poisoning her, and slowly draining her health. As she tried to escape, she suddenly acquired a weak poison resistance skill. Maple then pretended to stay still, allowing the bee to keep spraying her with venom. By the time she gained a medium poison resistance skill, she started provoking the bee. The foolish bee charged straight at her, aiming for her back, but Maple swiftly turned around, holding out a short knife, and the bee ended up impaling itself on the blade, dying instantly. This leveled her up straight to level 8, and she even obtained a rare item, a queen bee ring, that restored 10% of her maximum health for 10 minutes. On top of that, she gained a skill that doubled her stats when facing stronger opponents. Delighted with her progress, Maple laid down on the ground and fell asleep. While she was sleeping, small monsters emerged from the forest and continuously attacked her, but none of them could harm her. When she woke up, she had even gained a meditation skill that helped regenerate her health. At this point, Maple finally noticed the small monsters attacking her. Terrified, she started slashing wildly with her knife, swinging randomly in every direction. Despite the chaos, she managed to defeat them all and leveled up to 11. She allocated all of her stat points into defense once again. The next day, when Maple logged into the game, she noticed that Kuromu had a huge shield that looked really cool, so she wanted one as well. Kuromu offered to take her to the place where such large shields were made. The person crafting them was a girl named Iz, who could create anything as long as she had enough materials. Iz told Maple that making a large shield would cost 1 million gold, but Maple only had 3,000 gold. So, Kuromu suggested that she visit a mountain with a labyrinth inhabited by a poison dragon to hunt for rare items that she could sell. Maple set off for the labyrinth. Inside, she was attacked by a swarm of slimes, so she drew her knife and swiftly slashed through them. She continued deeper into the labyrinth, defeating more slimes along the way. At the final door, she encountered the 3-headed poison dragon. As soon as Maple entered the room, the dragon spewed poison, melting her shield and knife. It relentlessly sprayed poison at her, causing her health to plummet rapidly. Desperate, Maple kept drinking health potions as fast as her health dropped. After repeating this process many times, she finally acquired the poison nullification skill, making the poison no worse than dirty water to her. Seeing that its poison attacks were ineffective, the dragon wrapped one of its heads tightly around Maple, attempting to devour her. However, Maple had a different idea. She started eating the dragon instead. She continuously bit into the dragon's flesh, commenting that it tasted spicy, with a hint of bell pepper. After a while, the poison dragon disappeared, having been eaten by Maple, though she still hadn't satisfied her hunger. After the battle, Maple gained the ability to control the dragon's poison power. She also found a treasure chest containing black armor, a new knife, and a large shield. Her defense stats skyrocketed to an incredible level. By just her second day in the game, she had managed to raise her defense stat to 800. Honestly, at this point, I think the other players should just quit the game. After logging out of the game, Maple bragged to her friend Risa, who was busy studying, hoping to distract her and lower her exam scores. The next day, Maple logged back in and returned to the forest to level up. She didn't use any flashy attack moves, but instead relied entirely on her shield to defeat monsters. She then used a paralyzing thunderstrike to wipe out a swarm of ladybugs, and used her shield to block them from falling on her head. Sitting down, she happily consumed the monsters, absorbing their strength while commenting on how delicious they were, like popping candy. As a result, the system awarded her the Gluttonous Devourer skill. The following day, when Maple logged in, a PvP event was underway. For 3 hours, participants had to fight each other to find out who was the strongest. Maple was transported to a broken-down house on a high platform. While waiting for something to happen, she passed the time by doodling dragons. Out of nowhere, a minor character with an effeminate face leaped at her, slashing his sword at Maple. However, her shield devoured him. Next, 3 brothers appeared, talking tough and introducing themselves like superheroes. They charged at her, but with one swift move, they were all knocked to the ground. Maple casually looted their gear and continued letting her shield devour them without much effort. Seeing this, everyone focused on attacking Maple, but her shield devoured all their attacks effortlessly. One guy even tried to hit Maple on the head, only for his weapon to rebound. This must be the legendary thick-headedness. When a group of mages gathered to unleash their spells on Maple, she used her Hydra Summon skill to unleash poison, wiping out the entire group of mages. Afterward, she casually sat back down and resumed drawing birds, only to be notified that she was now ranked 3rd. At this point, if someone managed to defeat the top 3 players, they would receive 30% of their points. This meant that all 3 top-ranked players, including Maple, were now being hunted by others. Next, a guy charged at Maple, attempting to slash her, but his face went blank when he realized that his attacks had no effect. Maple simply countered with her shield, knocking him out of the game. To make things quicker, she used her poison breath attack to clean up the remaining players around her. In the end, Maple still managed to secure 3rd place in the event. Even Maple's friend was shocked. Despite only being at level 20, Maple had managed to reach the top 3 in PvP. If Maple wasn't hacking, then the game surely had a bug. Her friend thought that while Maple was tanking everything, she herself would play as a swashbuckler. That evening, Maple's friend logged into the game with the username Sally. Maple decided she wanted another shield, so she went to ask Iz for help. Iz mentioned that in an underground lake to the south, there were many white fish, and their scales would make excellent material for crafting a shield. So they set off for the lake. Since Sally had much higher speed, she carried Maple on her back to speed up the journey. They started fishing inside the lake. Sally was constantly catching fish, while Maple only managed to snag a few here and there. After some time, they collected 25 fish scales, but it still seemed like too little. Determined to gather more, Sally dove into the water to swim and explore. While underwater, she discovered a locked gate. Later, when Sally surfaced, she brought up a huge pile of fish scales and handed them all to Maple, asking for her help in return. Sally explained to Maple about the locked gate she found underwater and expressed her desire to challenge whatever lay beyond it. They decided to come back to this spot every day to train. Over time, Sally's diving and swimming skills improved significantly, and she eventually discovered the path leading to the boss room. Sally decided she was ready to face the boss. She told Maple to send her a reminder after 20 minutes, just in case she needed to surface for air during the fight. Sally swam into the boss room, where a massive, ferocious fish appeared as the boss. She launched continuous attacks, but her damage was barely noticeable against the sea monster. The boss retaliated with powerful laser blasts and poisonous smoke, but Sally managed to dodge them calmly. As a skilled gamer who had previously soloed no-hit bosses in Elden Ring, Sally slowly whittled down the boss's health. 20 minutes were almost up, and Maple started getting worried since there was no signal from Sally. Meanwhile, Sally seized the opportunity while the boss was casting a skill and launched her final strike at the boss's neck, successfully defeating it. There was a tense moment when it seemed Sally might drown, but fortunately, she managed to swim to the surface. She opened the boss chest and was rewarded with a sleek armor set and a dual sword. Just then, an announcement popped up, notifying all players that a second floor would soon be available for everyone to challenge. With that, Sally carried Maple back to prepare for the upcoming second floor challenge. Because Maple had been buffed with too much power, the game's developers were forced to release a patch to prevent another overpowered Maple from being created. They also limited the number of uses for her Gluttonous Devourer skill to just 10 times a day to keep the game balanced. However, with her Hydra skill, Maple still retained a monstrous source of power. The thought of it made her quite happy. The next day, Maple and Sally prepared to conquer the second level. Before they headed out, they needed to gather some supplies, so they stopped by a shop to buy what they needed. Afterward, they treated themselves to a relaxing meal at a restaurant, enjoying the fact that eating in-game wouldn't make them gain weight. In the same restaurant, two players ranked 2nd and 5th from the last event, Dread and Drag, were also dining. They mentioned that they wouldn't hold back in the upcoming event next week. However, they both admitted that no one could match Pain, the top-ranked player from the previous event, and the first person to reach the second floor. Since Maple and Sally had yet to explore many parts of the first floor, Dread suggested they visit the northern forest to acquire a super speed skill. When they arrived at the forest, Sally was trembling with fear. Ghostly lights floated eerily in the air. They decided to take shelter in a nearby abandoned house to calm down. While inside, Sally accidentally discovered something hidden beneath a table, a secret passage under the carpet. They descended into the basement and found a person who was injured and tied up. Sally approached the figure and used her healing skill. After being healed, the person quietly passed on, seemingly finding peace. To their surprise, the super speed skill was waiting for them right there on a chair. As they made their way to a hollow tree trunk, Sally threw a fireball inside. After a series of blinding lights, a vast field of sunflowers appeared before them. Nearby on a beach, they played and splashed seawater at each other, deepening their bond. The next day, they began exploring new caves. As soon as they entered, a wild boar, seemingly intent on suicide, charged straight into Maple's shield. One after another, more boars followed, crashing into the shield as if they were offering free experience points. Then, a bear appeared. Sally used a skill that made Maple's shield disappear, causing her to panic. The bear charged forward, but collided with something unseen and died. It turned out that Sally had used an illusion to hide the shield. As the two ventured deeper, they encountered a waterfall. Slowly, vines began to intertwine and form a giant deer. With just one stomp, the ground split in two, and the vines rushed toward them. Maple summoned Hydra to spew poison, but the deer blocked it with a shield. They discovered that attacking the apples on the deer's shield would break it. Working together, they began targeting the apples. Maple summoned Hydra again, destroying the shields, and had Hydra bite the deer. However, the deer used its ultimate move, sending Maple flying and knocking her out. Realizing she couldn't rely on Maple anymore, Sally decided to activate Corrido mode. Sally continuously slashed at the deer's neck with her sword, then leaped onto its back, shooting fire toward its nape. But the damage wasn't enough. At that moment, Sally used Wind's Cutter to target the deer's eyes, then jumped high, flipped in the air, and with full power, plunged down to strike the deer's head, finally defeating it. Just as Maple regained consciousness, Sally had finished off the boss. They made it to the second floor, but Maple felt disheartened, thinking she hadn't contributed much. At that moment, Iz came to find Maple and gave her a white shield made from the fish scales she had previously collected. That night, the two went to a beautiful, mystical space to celebrate. They drank water and ate pieces of the sky, which made their eyes and hair shimmer even more. The two had an incredibly enjoyable date. The stunning scenery in the game made me really want to play it. Finally, the day of the second event arrived. A girl stood up, recruiting members. She was the guild leader of Flame Emperor. Her name was Mi, and she was highly skilled with fire, having ranked 4th in the previous PvP event. The event began, and participants needed to collect silver medals, which could be exchanged for gold medals. Each gold medal could be traded for an item or skill. Players could also steal medals from each other before the time ran out. As the event started, Sally and Maple worked together, but after a while, Sally noticed that Maple was nowhere to be seen. She heard Maple's voice coming from underground, so she bent down to check and found Maple below. There was a dungeon beneath them, so Sally jumped down, and together they explored it. They discovered a large gate. As soon as they entered, Sally sensed something, and Maple used her support skill to teleport in front of Sally, blocking an attack aimed at her. It turned out to be a clown boss that lurked in the shadows. Sally charged at the clown to attack, while Maple, unable to move quickly, used her support skill to teleport in front of Sally. However, the clown suddenly struck Maple, sending her flying, but the damage was 0. Sally then used her super speed to close in on the clown and unleashed all her skills on its back. When it turned to retaliate, Maple summoned Hydra, which spewed poison on the clown, successfully defeating the boss. They found a chest containing 2 silver medals. Afterward, they teleported back to the surface, where they were greeted by a snow-covered mountain. When the two reached the mountain, they encountered Kuromu's team. Maple happily greeted them, but Sally remained cautious, warning that she would make them disappear if they had any bad intentions. Maple and Sally decided to let Kuromu's team go ahead. As they were about to search for another gate, the same gate reopened. They entered, and a giant ice bird boss appeared before them. The bird shot ice at them, but Maple used her cover skill to shield Sally. The bird then launched a large ice chunk, forcing Maple to devour it with her shield. Meanwhile, Sally seized the opportunity to rush toward the bird, dodging attacks as she ran. Maple used her support skill to teleport and shield Sally. Sally then leaped directly at the ice bird, using her super speed to evade its attacks, causing it to target Maple instead. The bird's attack was devoured by Maple's shield, which managed to take down one of its legs. Maple then had Hydra bite down on the boss, but the bird quickly froze Hydra and broke free, losing only about 5% of its health. Maple had to use her Devour skill 5 times to block the bird's ice attacks, but the piercing attacks still managed to injure her. Sally, from behind, healed Maple. Sally then jumped up and attacked the ice bird, causing it to charge at Maple. Maple continuously bashed the boss with her shield, and then they combined their abilities. Sally created a whirlpool of water, while Maple used Hydra to spray poison, turning it into a toxic vortex. However, even that wasn't enough to defeat the boss. The bird unleashed an extremely powerful attack, forcing Maple to brace herself with her shield, her hands trembling from the strain. The boss then activated its ultimate mode, transforming into a black smoke that charged at them. It struck Maple, sending her flying and nearly knocking her out. Maple used her support skill again to block another attack, but this time, her shield was destroyed. Sally leaped high to attack, but the boss fired a barrage of ice at her. Just when the ice bird thought it had won, it turned out that what it hit was only an illusion. Maple then summoned Hydra to attack the boss, and finally, the two of them managed to defeat it. At this point, Sally realized that Maple had a skill that made her invincible when her health dropped to 1. Sally quickly healed Maple. As they were looting the boss, Sally called Maple over because she had discovered 2 eggs. Each of them chose an egg to hatch. Then they left the dungeon. They found a bamboo forest, sat down to keep the eggs warm, and eagerly waited for them to hatch. Meanwhile, the game admins were in a panic after learning that Maple had successfully defeated the Icebird boss and taken the eggs. With Maple's unique skill combinations, they were worried they might need to prepare a patch for the game. The next day, the two ventured to a high cliff. Sally jumped down to scout the terrain, and Maple followed by bouncing down with a toxic ball. When she landed, she felt so dizzy that she couldn't tell up from down. They sat by a riverbank, and their eggs began to hatch. Maple's egg revealed a turtle, while Sally's egg hatched into a fox. They also received bonding rings to help control their pets. Maple named her turtle Syrup, and Sally named her fox Oboro. They spent the rest of the day letting their pets hunt and level up. The following day, they arrived at an oasis, where a girl appeared, intending to steal their gold medal. A battle between the girl and Sally ensued. They sped across the desert with super speed, and the girl used an illusionary clone to strike at Sally. However, she was startled to find that Sally had also used an illusion and managed to land a hit on her. Just then, Maple flew toward them, and all 3 were caught in a sand vortex and fell below. When they fell, all 3 found themselves chained together by a single chain, and if one of them died, they would all perish. The girl introduced herself as Kasumi, and the three of them were now forced to become teammates. They began exploring the dungeon together, but Maple, being pulled by the other two, tripped and fell. However, with her protagonist's luck, she found a silver medal in the sand right in front of her. As they continued, they discovered massive creatures in the dungeon that couldn't be defeated. Realizing the danger, the other two pulled Maple along as they ran. After a while, they found themselves surrounded by these creatures. The only option left was to jump into a high-up cave. Sally used her high jump to try to pull all three up, but it wasn't enough. Kasumi quickly used a sword skill to create a foothold, allowing her to climb into the cave and then pull the other two up just in time. They got lucky again and discovered that the door inside the cave was the final exit of the labyrinth. The chain was broken, and inside the treasure chest, they found a shield, a spear, a staff, and 3 skill books. Maple received the shield, Kasumi got the spear, and they split the skill books among the 3 of them. As for the 2 remaining silver medals, Sally and Kasumi each took one, since Maple had already found one earlier. Once they made it back to the surface, Kasumi apologized to Maple for initially wanting to attack her, and thanked both of them for their kindness. They then bid each other farewell. Maple and Sally continued collecting medals until the evening of the 6th day, by which time they had amassed 15 silver medals and 1 gold medal. The next morning, Sally found Maple building sandcastles and playing Go with a boy named Kanade, who kept winning. Kanade, who wasn't too interested in the event due to his weak stats, gave Maple a book about the ancient heart that he had found in a library as a token of their friendship. Maple and Sally set off to find the ancient heart on an island. By the evening, they had located it. Following the book's instructions, Sally used water magic to fill the central fountain, while Maple had Hydra spray poison into the 3 smaller fountains. The fountains activated, transporting them to the ocean floor. Suddenly, something rushed at them, and Maple swiftly used her shield to cut it off. It turned out to be a tentacle from a giant squid. Although they managed to cut off its tentacle, the squid's health didn't decrease, indicating that they needed to target its main body for effective damage. Maple then had Hydra poison the entire sea, killing all the fish, and eventually, the squid boss succumbed to the poison as well. Game is easy, they thought, unaware that they had just defeated one of the game's final bosses. Their victory earned them a silver medal and transported them to a serene, blue ocean where they admired the beautiful coral. By that night, they had 1 gold medal and 18 silver medals, needing just 2 more to complete their collection. Maple stayed behind to guard the medals while Sally went out to PK and steal silver medals. Sally activated her Kirito mode and engaged in combat with other players, while Maple stayed in a cave, letting her pets fight a slime to pass the time. After a long night, Sally managed to secure the 2 silver medals. Kasumi happened to stumble upon the same cave. Since it was the last day of the event, none of them wanted to fight, so Maple used Hydra to poison the entrance, blocking other players from entering. Finally, the event ended. Maple exchanged her rewards, choosing a skill that allowed Syrup to turn giant so she could ride him, and she combined this with an acid rain combo to grind levels. Maple's obsession with gaming led to some hilarious moments at school. During dodgeball, she instinctively tried to use in-game skills to block the ball, only to get hit in the face, bringing her back to reality. After 3 days of forcing herself to take a break from the game, Maple returned, just in time for a new game update that introduced glowing bugs. Catching one would grant players the ability to purchase a guild house. Thanks to her agility, Sally quickly caught one of the bugs. They began searching for the perfect guild house. They eventually found a cozy spot inside a hollow tree, which they both instantly fell in love with and decided to purchase. They invited their friend Kanade and Kasumi to join their guild. Kuromu and Iz also became members, and they decided to name their guild Maple Tree, with Maple as the leader. The next day, all members set out to build up resources for their guild. Maple, Kanade, and Iz explored a dungeon to gather new materials, while Sally, Kuromu, and Kasumi focused on defeating monsters to level up and earn funds for the guild. That evening, they held their regular Maple Tree Guild meeting. Kuromu announced that the 3rd and 4th events were approaching, with the 3rd floor soon to be unlocked. The 3rd event, set to begin in a week, would involve a week-long monster hunting and item gathering challenge. The 4th event would be a large-scale guild war, where different guilds would battle each other over an extended period. Since Maple Tree had very few members, they decided it was time to recruit more people to strengthen their ranks. Maple and Sally headed down to the first floor to recruit new members for their guild. Maple noticed two young girls chatting and decided to invite them to join. Despite the girls being new players and quite weak, Maple warmly welcomed them into the team. The four of them then went to a cafe to get to know each other better. The girl with white hair introduced herself as Yui, and the one with black hair as Mai. Both Yui and Mai had maxed out their attack stats, leaving their agility at 0. To help Yui and Mai progress, the group decided to take them to the second floor. They all rode on Maple's turtle, Syrup, and flew to the boss lair where they had previously faced the giant deer. Sally, along with her pet Oboro, used illusions and clones to launch an attack on the boss. The boss became enraged and shot roots towards Yui and Mai, but Maple quickly blocked the attack with her shield. Sally continued her assault, and eventually, the boss was defeated. Impressed by the strength of the Maple Tree Guild members, Yui and Mai felt incredibly lucky to have joined. They were so enthusiastic that when they bowed in gratitude to the guild members, they accidentally broke the table in front of them. It seemed like the guild might end up with 3 powerhouses like Maple in the future. The trio of Maple, Yui, and Mai then began dungeon crawling together, aiming to break the previous record of 3 minutes, while also leveling up Yui and Mai. After some intense efforts, they managed to set a new record of 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Yui and Mai both leveled up to 20 and received powerful new skills. To top it off, Is gifted them 4 crystal hammers as a reward for their progress. The next day, Kasumi went out to gather ingredients, while Sally taught the twins how to dodge, despite having low agility stats. Kanade stayed in the library room, practicing his magical library skills, and was able to use energy-based spells from the magical library. Meanwhile, Kasumi was collecting wool when she discovered a giant sheep, which turned out to be Maple. Maple asked Kasumi to help her shear the wool, explaining that it was a skill she had to grow wool. Maple then grew more wool and spread poison into it, saying that this way, enemies wouldn't be able to come close. Naturally, Kasumi couldn't get close either, so she couldn't help shear the wool. As for Kuromu, he was fighting in a hidden dungeon against a giant skeleton boss. After defeating it, he gained new skills and a unique outfit for being the first person to slay the boss. Maple was strolling down the street when she turned into a small alley. While walking, she saw a family with a mother and daughter, and the daughter was ill. When Maple looked over, the mother ran out to ask for help, triggering a hidden quest. The mother asked Maple to take her to get medicine, and Maple immediately agreed. So, Maple and the mother rode on Maple's turtle and flew to the Spring of Purification. Thanks to the flying turtle, they easily reached the location and collected the water of life from the spring. When they returned home, the daughter drank the water of life, but she did not recover. Then, a second hidden quest appeared. The mother asked Maple to go to a distant town to retrieve a ring that could cure her daughter of her illness. Maple remembered the ring she got when she killed a bee earlier. It turned out to be the right ring. The mother thanked Maple profusely, and Maple felt lucky to have the quest item on hand. However, as soon as the daughter put the ring on, she clutched her head and ran outside. This triggered the third hidden quest. They went to the Temple of Eternal Darkness, where they found the daughter lying. Suddenly, a ghost appeared and attacked, but Maple blocked it. Afterward, numerous ghosts appeared, and Maple summoned Hydra to attack them, but it didn't succeed. Suddenly, all the ghosts disappeared because the medicine from the Spring of Purification had taken effect. When they returned home, the mother said that her daughter might have been possessed. Thus, the fourth quest appeared, requiring Maple to find an angel fragment. After the fragment was found, an angel appeared, purifying the daughter, and thanked Maple. Maple received a new skill. She asked Is to make her a white angelic armor. With her new protection skill, Maple transformed into an angel with wings and a halo above her head. Additionally, any teammates standing within her protective circle would be shielded by Maple, making her a guardian angel. Finally, the third event day arrived. Is gave everyone new and incredibly cute outfits, which also increased the drop rate of event items. Everyone accelerated their progress in hunting monsters and gathering event items. While hunting monsters on a remote mountain, Maple slipped and fell into a foggy forest. After picking up a strange item, she wandered forward aimlessly and found herself in front of a chapel, the same chapel where she had completed the hidden quest. When she entered, a boss appeared and continuously attacked her. It used a skill to bind Maple, but she used her wool-growing ability to counter it. She then summoned Syrup to use vines to bind the boss, then use Spirit Cannon at it. Thinking she had defeated it, the boss shed its skin and transformed into a more powerful form, now featuring a tail that was a snake, capable of breathing fire. Maple's fluffy wool quickly caught fire, and then the boss swallowed her whole. But unfortunately for the boss, letting Maple get close was a mistake. Inside the boss's stomach, Maple had a great meal, effectively defeating the boss from the inside and gaining a new skill. Other guilds quickly defeated monsters and collected event items as well. After the event, the third floor was unlocked. The Maple Tree Guild decided to advance to the third floor together, but first, they had to get past the Groot boss standing in their way. Maple used her Predator skill to summon the beast she had consumed the previous day. With its speed and high damage, the beast swiftly bit off one of the tree creature's arms. Then, Maple used her brutal skill, transforming into a boss monster herself, which left her guild members stunned. In her boss monster form, Maple knocked down the tree creature and continuously attacked, easily securing a victory. They ascended to the third floor, which resembled a mechanical city. The group decided to split up to explore the area, and Maple found an old man who was exhausted and starving. She gave him bread and water, and after eating, the old man explained that there was a mechanical god reigning over this place. The large machine in front of them was a second-generation model, replacing the first-generation machines that used to dominate here. After thanking the old man, Maple rode Syrup to find everyone to discuss what she had learned, but due to the thick fog, she fell into a strange area. She ventured deeper inside and found a seemingly broken-down machine sitting in front of her. Suddenly, the gear she had found on the second floor was absorbed into the machine, and it began attacking Maple. She summoned Syrup to bind the machine with vines, and then used her Chaos Leak skill to directly deal with the machine. At this point, the machine regained some consciousness and entrusted its power to her. After the gear returned to Maple, the machine lost consciousness and transformed into a different form. Maple then received the God Machine skill, which she used immediately, encasing herself in mechanical armor. It reminded me of another girl.
Born a weapon to be destroyed. It's our destiny!
Maple and the second-generation mechanical god began shooting at each other, and in the end, she emerged victorious. She reunited with the other members and proudly showcased her new skill. She summoned an arm of the God Machine and fired it, blasting apart the area in front of them, making her teammates feel lucky to be on Maple's side. As the fourth event, Guild War, approached, everyone prepared thoroughly by hunting monsters to level up and scouting the strength of other guilds. Meanwhile, the Maple Tree Guild decided to go swimming to relieve stress. Kasumi and Kiromu continued defeating monsters to level up and gain new skills. Kanade was busy completing his skill collection, and was exploring a dungeon to gather more materials to create essential items. After their fun swim, Sally noticed someone watching them from behind a rock. It was Frederica from the Holy Sword Guild, spying on them. Sally challenged her to a PvP duel, with the condition that the loser must provide information to avoid wasting time. They went to an abandoned arena. As soon as they entered, Frederica launched a combo of fireballs. Sally rushed forward, dodging her attacks and slashing through 5 layers of shields, but had to retreat when she was shot at. Sally shouted the names of her skills as she dodged. Frederica realized that Sally's secret moves had cooldown times. She shot stone towards Sally, forcing her to shout skill names and slashed through the incoming stone. Seeing this, Frederica surrendered and shared all the information she had about the Flame Emperor's Guild with Sally. That evening, in preparation for the Guild War event, the admin appeared to explain the rules. The event would last for 5 days, and guilds would be divided into large, medium, and small guilds based on their number of members. Each guild would have its own base, and the objective was to protect the orb at their base while stealing orbs from other guilds to earn points. Players who were killed would have their stats reduced, and after dying 5 times, they would be eliminated from the event. Everyone began discussing their strategies for the event and continued practicing to perfect their skills. Finally, the day of the event arrived, and everyone was ready for the intense guild war. Right from the start, Kiromu, Kasumi, and Sally quickly wiped out a guild and successfully captured an orb. Sally told Kasumi to take the orb back to their base, while she continued stealing orbs from other guilds. Swiftly, she captured another orb in a field. Next, she set fire to a forest, captured another orb, and caused 2 nearby guilds to misunderstand the situation and attack each other. Meanwhile, a group that tried to steal an orb from the Holy Sword Guild was taken down by Frederica and her teammates with a combo attack. Dredd was walking through the forest when he sensed Sally's presence. He complimented Sally on how much stronger she had become, and was surprised that Sally had also gained super speed. Then, he used his Godspeed to attack, but Sally sensed the attack and blocked it. Suddenly, she couldn't sense anything anymore because, in reality, he had already left. A while later, some guilds came to attack Maple's guild to retrieve their orbs, but the Maple Tree Guild easily defeated them. That night, Payne, the top-ranked player, had already gathered around 20 orbs, and his next target was the Maple Tree Guild. Currently, Maple's guild is ranked 17th, with the goal of reaching the top 10. So, Sally continued to go out to steal more orbs. Kanade also wanted to help, so he went to raid the nearby guilds. Meanwhile, Kasumi and her teammates began to ambush outside their base, eliminating any guilds that came to attack. After a night of intense fighting, Sally managed to steal 10 orbs. Just as she was about to return to base to rest, she was surrounded by the Holy Sword Guild. At the base, 3 members of the Maple Tree Guild were trying to defend. At this moment, Kiromu was ganged up on and killed, but his skill, which gives him a 50% chance to avoid death, was activated. On Kasumi's side, she encountered the swordsman Shin, who is also a high-ranking player in the Flame Emperor's Guild. Meanwhile, Sally was cornered and struggling to defend herself. Frederica appeared and commanded her guild to attack, but after a while, she realized that all the skills Sally had used were fake. Realizing she had been tricked, Frederica angrily attacked Sally with fireballs, but Sally managed to use her clone skill and dodged the attacks just in time. At this point, the reinforcements from Holy Sword arrived, and Frederica buffed them with shields to attack Sally. Just when Sally thought she was about to be defeated, Maple, in her angel form, flew to her side. Maple used her God Machine skill, then lifted Sally up and flew high into the air, then summoned Hydra. She unleashed a barrage of bullets and used Hydra's poison to attack the Holy Sword members below, causing them to scatter in chaos. Upon hearing that Maple and Sally were not at the base, Dredd infiltrated the base and confronted the twin sisters. Everyone received an alert that the base was being invaded, so they hurried back. Due to their maxed-out attack stats, Mai and Yui couldn't stop Dredd because he was a high-speed player. At this moment, Maple and Sally returned to the base. Maple summoned Syrup and used the Vine skill to bind Dredd, but he quickly threw a knife toward the turtle. Maple used her Predator skill to devour Dredd, sending him to respawn. Shin was gaining the upper hand in his fight with Kasumi, but just as he was about to defeat her, Kasumi reverted to her original form and slashed him with one strike, forcing Shin to log out. Everyone was happy that Maple returned just in time. Sally and Kanade also contributed the orbs they had collected. The guild's ranking would increase significantly when these orbs were converted into points. After deciding on the plan for Maple to go out and gather orbs, Sally fell asleep from exhaustion. Shortly after, Maple, along with the twin sisters, boldly set out to steal orbs from other guilds. And next, they targeted the Flame Emperor's Guild. They managed to get through all of the Flame Emperor's traps without any harm. Maple was nearly immune to all the damage from the traps, and when they were ensnared, the twin sisters broke them free. 2 high-ranking members of the Flame Emperor's Guild then appeared, but they were immediately showered by Maple's Hydra. Fortunately, Misery had an antidote skill. Marcus set more traps to hold Maple back, but Mai and Yui quickly destroyed them. At this moment, Mi, the leader of the Flame Emperor's Guild, has returned, and both sides begin to engage in combat. As soon as she appears, Mi throws a flame skill, startling Maple, though it doesn't cause her any damage. Mi then charges forward, attacking the twin sisters, causing Maple to take damage and be pushed away from them. Maple uses Predator to shield the twins while they run towards her. Seeing that the situation is dire, Maple allows the twins to climb onto Syrup and fly into the sky. Maple stays behind to fight 1 versus 3. The 3 members of the Flame Emperor Guild unleash a barrage of piercing skills to attack Maple, but they still can't defeat her. However, Maple's 10 uses of the Devour skill have run out. Mii, on the other hand, has to continuously drink mana potions to keep casting spells. At this point, the members of the Flame Emperor's Guild recklessly charge at Maple, but Syrup fires a spirit cannon downwards. Mii quickly intercepts the attack, but the impact is so strong that a few members die. Maple seized this opportunity to get closer and used Hydra to spew poison at the Flame Emperor's Guild. Mii is immediately detoxified by misery, and they continue to pour skills onto Maple. Seeing that they still can't defeat Maple, Mii decides to have Misery and Marcus buy time for her to cast her ultimate skill, which is the Flame Prison. Maple is trapped inside, taking true damage over time. Although she didn't want to reveal this skill, Maple has no choice but to transform into her god machine form and destroy the Flame Prison. When the Flame Emperor Guild saw Maple transform and escape, they were shocked and called her a monster. Maple unleashed a relentless barrage of powerful attacks, massacring the members of the Flame Emperor Guild, forcing Mii and her teammates to decide to retreat. As Mii and her team were flying away to escape, Maple charged at them, using her ultimate move to directly annihilate them. Seeing her teammates dead, Mii, enraged, lunged at Maple and used her self-destruct skill. After a loud explosion, Maple remained unharmed. Although victorious, the Flame Emperor Guild's orb had been taken by Shin. To make up for it, Maple decided to eliminate all the surrounding guilds. After Mii was resurrected, she learned that despite Maple taking the full brunt of her self-destruct move, she was still unharmed, leaving Mii feeling utterly hopeless against this boss, Maple. Finally, Maple's guild managed to climb to the 10th rank. They continued to strive to collect more orbs and protect their base. Many guilds had been eliminated, and at this point, the Holy Sword Guild decided to attack the Maple Tree Guild. Despite their large forces, the Holy Sword Guild only sent 4 members to engage in combat. The two guilds clashed fiercely. Sally leaped towards Pain, but was slashed away by him. The twin sisters used their hammers to strike at Drag, but were countered by him. Maple, after taking damage from a protective skill, was pushed back. Pain rushed in close to Maple, attacking her relentlessly. Drag jumped in to finish off the twin sisters, but was blocked by Kiromu. Kanade and Iz were busy defending their orb from Federica. Pain's armor-piercing attacks struck directly at Maple, and at the same time, Kiromu was critically slashed, causing her to take significant damage. Maple deactivated her angel form, and immediately, the 3 members of the Holy Sword Guild buffed Pain's strength and speed. He teleported right in front of Maple and unleashed a powerful ultimate attack. Maple was critically slashed, but thanks to her skill, she survived with just 1 HP remaining. She summoned Predator and Hydra, but Pain nullified them with a single slash. When Maple teleported to Iz's location, Pain used his super speed to reach her and slashed Iz, depleting all of her health. Meanwhile, Kiromu entered a near-death state. Kanade tried to use his giant hand skill to block Dread and create a cloud of black smoke to carry the orb away, but Pain appeared and slashed him down. Maple continued to summon Predator, Hydra, and Syrup, but none were effective against Pain. As Pain charged at full strength, Maple suddenly threw her shield away and used the mechanical arms of her god machine form to fire at Pain with all her might. However, Pain also had a not die skill, leaving him with just 1 HP. Enraged, he used his ultimate move. At that moment, Maple transformed into a boss monster and grabbed Pain, biting him to death. The remaining 3 members of the Holy Sword Guild were each captured and defeated by Maple. Thus, the Maple Tree Guild won by a narrow margin. Since she could only transform into a boss monster once a day, Maple decided to stay in this form to make the most of it. After deciding on their strategy, they rode on Maple to hunt down other guilds. Their goal was to eliminate other guilds and prevent them from gaining more event points. The eliminated players were frustrated, feeling like they were up against a cheater-level opponent. Pain was determined to defeat Maple someday, but for now, the Holy Sword Guild was firmly in first place in the event, so they stayed at their base to defend. The Flame Emperor's Guild was under heavy attack from numerous other guilds when Maple suddenly appeared. With a single move, she wiped out all the other guilds except for the Flame Emperors, and then she left. Following that, Sally and Kanade combined their skills to create 6 clones of Maple. Seeing 7 Maple monsters, the other guilds became extremely discouraged. After their efforts to sweep away the other guilds, the Maple Tree Guild secured 3rd place overall. The next day, Maple organized a celebration party because all the guild members who ranked in the top 10 received a 5% stat buff. Everyone raised their glasses to celebrate the beginning of a new friendship. They discussed Maple's gameplay style, agreeing that her approach was anything but normal. However, Maple insisted that she was just playing like everyone else. And so, Maple's journey to becoming the final boss of the game temporarily comes to an end. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.